Bet, bet, bet. Oh shit, we're live. Oh wait, no, we're not. Wait, hold on. Oh, I think we are. I think we are. Bet, bet, bet. I think it's just delayed. Oh shit, we're live. Oh wait, yeah, it's just delayed. Alright, bet. I'm gonna put the YouTube link for y'all if you want to watch on there. I'm trying to get my YouTube clout up, you feel me? So I like to stream on both platforms, Discord and YouTube. I got my notes next to me. I'm excited for class. Yes. You're live on YouTube. Oh, you see me? Bet, bet, bet. My YouTube channel name, I'll type it in the chat. I'll just put the link actually. Yeah. Hold on, hold on. Let me. Mm-mm-mm. Bro, I need an assistant. No cap. I need an assistant. I need somebody to do all the links and shit for me. Let me see, let me see. Man, I do not care about that. Let me find my link. Oh, I can't watch my own live on here? Alright, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. What's up, what's up, what's up? Bob Smith. What's poppin', bro? I'm gonna send myself the link. Yeah. You know what I need for real? I need 2 computers. That's good. I'll be alright. Nice and sunny, so it's putting me in a good mood. That's what's up. It's hella sunny over here too. It's a good summer. It's been a good summer. It's been like gradually heating up. I live in California, so it gets really hot in the summertime, like 115, 120. I live in the desert. But it's been pretty cool this summer. It's been like 80, 90 degrees, and that's perfect. Even like 100 for where I live is pretty good. But then it starts to heat up towards like September, October. That's when it gets really hot. Ironically. Let me drop this link and then we're gonna get started. Oh, I got the wrong thumbnail up. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. It's alright. I've held y'all long enough. Draft. Link. Brother. What link is this? Man, Instagram pissed me off, bro. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. No. Get rid of that. Put the link. Yeah. Yeah. Take me to YouTube. Thank you. Alright. Finally, we can begin. We have a very, very great, very, very debatable, some people would debate, a very thought-provoking conversation today, because we are talking about he who shall not be named. We're talking about, hold on, let me start the recording too. The C word, exactly, the C word. We're talking about the C word. Spooky. You know, people get killed over this word. People, and not just the people who suffer from it, you know. People get killed for 2 C words. The first word is cancer. The second word y'all know, but it may not come to your head immediately. What's the second C word that people get killed for? Cure. Exactly. Cure. You know, highly debatable. People think that you can't kill cancer because cancer is mystified in our culture. It's seen as the ultimatum, which is honestly not entirely wrong. At the end of the day, all cancer is the deviation from the cellular replication process, right? It deviates so badly that the cells become independent of the rest of the body. So it basically starts to become a parasite that feeds on the rest of the body. This is an ultimate destination for all of us. I'm not going to lie. If we live the most perfect, most sustainable, cleanest, healthiest lives on earth, ultimately we would end up dying of cancer. That is the ultimate destination of all life. Either you're going to get killed by your environment or you're going to die of cancer. This is because the human body relies on cellular replication to sustain itself. Your cells that are in your body right now, they're constantly dying and regrowing and dying and replicating. They have to replace themselves. But they can only replicate themselves so many times, right? This is generally the amount of time it takes for the telomeres around your DNA to get completely, I want to say, unraveled, right? So as you age, your DNA gets unraveled. And it becomes harder to hold it together during the cellular replication process. The DNA needs to be completely bound. It needs to be completely compartmentalized during the cellular replication process, because if not, then errors will occur in replication. And this is the primary cause of cancer, an error in cellular replication, right? And yes, congratulations, Yaritza, for surviving cancer. I believe you said thyroid. The last class, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is a very, I want to say, life-changing experience to have your body basically attack itself. And, you know, being put under that stress, going through all the therapies. I don't know if you went through therapy, but the therapies that they put you on, and we're going to talk about this as well, the therapies that they put you under are not the best. They're not the best. Hopefully you overcame that naturally. If so, congrats. But even if you didn't, and you did rely on different chemo and therapies like that, still congratulations for making it. You know what I'm saying? But today we're going to talk about ways that we can defeat cancer away from chemo. We're also going to talk about different medical practices like chemo, but ultimately we want to do things naturally over here. We don't want to be so invasive on our bodies, because our body has a natural healing process, and it relies on us to feed it the proper nutrients and give us the proper environment so that our body can do its healing process. If we don't put our body in the right environment, if we don't give it the tools to replicate and to, heal itself, we will not be able to do so. And your healing process will be diminished. And then you will have to start to rely on different things like medical practice and diagnosis and treatments and all of that, right? But ultimately, your body has a self-diagnosing mechanism. You may not know exactly what it's called or what's happening, but your body does. And your body knows exactly where the threat is and usually how to defeat that threat unless, you're dealing with an unknown virus or an unknown mutation. But generally, your body knows how to defeat almost every threat, right? Like I said, you just have to give it the tools. So first, we're going to talk about what is cancer. We kind of already touched on it, but I want to go a little bit deeper. And then we're going to talk about, kind of the mystification of cancer. Why people think cancer is uncurable. Why people kind of see cancer as the boogeyman. And why people get killed over cancer. Maybe we should talk about that first. No, we'll do it in a natural order. Why people get killed over cancer? Because, cancer is a money-making machine. We're not gonna lie today. Cancer makes billions of dollars, and it's really unfortunate, but not just cancer, all illness makes billions of dollars. But cancer is the one that it's hard enough to cure so that we can prolong the existence of a cure. But generally there are cures for cancer. We're not going to lie. It depends. The current cures for cancer are not universal. There's no one cure for all types of cancer because there are many different types of cancer, but they all rely on the same mechanism more or less, right? The different cures for cancer have been found for like the last 100 years. Many different scientists and researchers have come to the forefront and, told them, we did these trials, we made these certain drugs, or we did these therapies, and the cancer went away. And some of these people are here today and some of these people are not, right? So we're going to talk about it. If y'all are with me still, put a heart with a bandage in the chat. The heart with the bandage. So to represent healing. You know what I'm saying? Just to see if y'all are with me still. I think after we talk about, that's the one. Thank you. I heard that people used to cure cancer with vibration frequencies in those churches, temples, like places in the past. We're going to talk about that too. That's one of my favorite topics is frequency healing because the body is a instrument. And when I say instrument, I don't mean something that is to be used. I don't mean it's a tool. I mean an instrument in the sense that it plays a tune. It plays a frequency. The same way you blow into a trumpet and it goes brr, 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 like the same way you blow into a flute and it goes your organs do the same thing. That's why it's called an organ, right? I'm not going to say that's why it's called an organ, but there has to be a coincidence there. An organ is an instrument and your bodies are instruments, right? Your organs are instruments. So we're going to talk about frequency healing and the importance of frequency and vibration. And what are we going to talk about after that? I think that pretty much covers it. Everything else that I want to talk about is kind of just going to be in between those topics, right? So first, like I said, we're going to talk about what is cancer. And let me check the YouTube stream to make sure I'm still up, because last time they booted me out. All right, we're still popping. All right. Bet. So, what is cancer? All cancer is the unchecked replication of cells, right? Or it can be the unchecked overgrowth of a cell, right? This is a problem because I'm going to bring it back to foundational biological principles. Life is kind of like a fire. Life is all consuming in a sense. If you just let life grow and grow and grow, it'll start to become a detriment to itself. If you just let grass run all across the world and grow wild and overgrow, the grass species are going to start to kill each other. They might even start to kill certain roots and trees and different things like that, depending on what type of grass it is. This is because life ultimately is somewhat parasitic. But when you have different forms of life, they can communicate and learn how to coexist, right? But to sustain life, you need constant input. So life is kind of like a baby crying for milk. Feed me, feed me. That's kind of what life is. Now, life has become so complex on Earth because to sustain life, you can't just be on feed me mode. You have to kind of check yourself. You have to be like, okay, let's take a step back. Maybe I don't need to feed right now. Maybe I need to regulate right now. Maybe me feeding so much is hindering my environment. And without the environment, I could die, right? This is kind of the philosophy of life. Now, this is the human perspective because ultimately, nature and evolution, these things happen spontaneously. Very spontaneously. I'm a biologist. I'm a scientist. I'm also spiritual. So I recognize the divine intervention in it. Matter of fact, I could tell you which exact points in biological evolution that I think had specific divine intervention. We may have a class about that, how life started on Earth. But I do believe in evolution, right? A lot of spiritual people don't. But this is important because life evolves spontaneously. So the fact that life has evolved spontaneously and still has this level of intricacy and this level of kind of checks and balance it says a lot about the type of reality that we live in beyond Earth. Like, it says a lot about the universe. Yes, things can grow. Yes, life can exist, but life cannot get too unchecked. Now, how does this relate to cancer? This relates to cancer because cancer is the overgrowth of life. It's the kind of selfish expression of life. At a certain point, when you have a cell, and this cell is going through its replication process, or this cell is just naturally growing, there are different checkpoints within that process that tell the cell, stop. The cell cannot grow past a certain point. The cell cannot replicate past a certain point. It does this so that the cell does not start to, number one, become a hindrance to the rest of its cells. If one cell is taking up too much resources, the rest of the cells are going to suffer. Number two, it does this so the body does not get too big, right? Like I told you, life can only exist within it has to exist within a certain plane or a certain framework, almost like a box, if you will. Life is like a fire. If life escaped out that box, everything will be consumed and nothing can exist. So our physical bodies, they limit themselves. This is why we don't grow and grow and grow. Matter of fact, human beings, we stop growing before we reach full maturity. There's a reason for this, because if we just grew and grew and grew, our bodies would not be able to transport nutrients throughout the body efficiently. This is why some people get capped off at 5'9". Some people get capped off at 4'9". Some people, they have the genetics to be able to grow to 7 foot tall. But that's because they have the resources and the DNA, the code, that tells their body how to transport these nutrients across such a wide canvas. This is why we only grow wide. Once we get to a certain age, we can only grow wide. We cannot grow taller. I'm done growing. Maybe I may get an inch. Maybe. I'm like 5'10". But my body cannot grow to 6'5". Not necessarily because of the stops and the checks and balances, although that is the reason biologically. It's almost a philosophical factor. If my body grew to be that tall, I would probably die because I don't have the genes to be able to transport that much nutrients across such a wide canvas. This is the main problem with growth. You need to be able to sustain growth with efficient transport and efficient communication, right? When our bodies are transporting minerals, when our bodies are transporting, ions and different nutrients, doing this through proteins and other enzymes, right? Coenzymes, cofactors, all of these things, they transport information throughout the body. Let's just dumb it down to information. When you have, so let's say you have something that is as big as this, right? It's easier to transport information across a plane like this versus if the plane was open up like that. You see how the information would have to go from here all the way to here? If I close this up, I reduced the amount of length that the nutrients have to travel in half. So now, instead of going from, all the way from here to here, I have here to here, and then we also have a second dimension, which is here to here. The nutrients can flow this way and this way. That is basically the philosophy of why life cannot get too big. If we got too big, we would be inefficient. We would not be able to sustain our life. Period. Now, this relates to cancer because, like I said, cancer is the overgrowth of cells. So when these cells get too big, they start to become a hindrance on their environment. A cancer cell can become so dangerous, it can become so all-consuming that it starts to build its own kind of colony, right? And cancer cells rely on a certain type of environment, right? Cancer cells don't just pop up out of nowhere. Cancer cells rely on a certain type of environment to sustain themselves. So you will have a part of your body that is healthy. Things are functioning properly. But then you may have a part of your body that is super acidic. A part of your body that maybe has heavy metals and gunk, basically trash. Cancer cells like to hide in the trash. They like to surround themselves with trash because it makes the body, it makes it harder for the body to fight it off, right? It makes the body harder to access it. Now, this is important because if we want to limit cancer, if we want to stop cancer from starting in the first place, we have to make sure that our body is a suitable environment for habitable cells, for cells that can actually sustain themselves without becoming a hindrance to the rest of the body. If y'all understand that, put a pen and paper in the chat. We're going deep today. And I got my water. You know what I'm saying? Usually I forget the water. Came prepared today. Yeah, and if you don't have your water, get your water. We going in. What's up, YouTube? What's up, what's up, what's up? Alright. Now that we understand what cancer is, right? We're going to talk about two different types of cancer. I kind of touched on it already, but we're going to go deeper. The two types of cancer are, one, when a cell gets too big, right? Sometimes this pops up as a tumor. They call this a tumor. When a cell gets, well, technically this wouldn't be a tumor yet, but tumors are made up of this type of cell. A cell that gets overgrown, right? The way that a cell gets overgrown is by passing certain checkpoints that otherwise stop it from growing, right? This is purely based off of biochemical potential. All biochemical potential is the ability for chemical reactions to happen in the body, right? A protein or an enzyme that stops a cell from growing, if the environment of that protein, well, hold on, I need to break down some foundational knowledge real quick before we go into that. A protein or an enzyme in the body, all it does is catalyze reactions. It makes chemical reactions easier to happen, right? But they need a certain environment. Some enzymes like it acidic in the body. Some enzymes like it high pH or alkaline in the body, right? In the holistic movement, we have a big push towards alkaline. That is kind of another topic, but well, we talked about that last week. Alkaline is not necessarily better, but we'll talk about that again, maybe a little bit in this class. But right now, I want to focus on the fact that enzymes need a certain environment, and no two enzymes are the same. Each enzyme is very, very specific. So some enzymes like it at a 6.1 pH, some enzymes like it at a 7.5 pH, some enzymes like it at a 4.2 pH, right? Depending on what area of your body is being affected, a certain pH will exist, right? So, your liver will have a certain pH. Your heart will have a certain pH. Your lungs will have a certain pH. And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Marginally different, right? It's a small difference between each part of the body and its pH, but there is a range, right? This is why no two cancers are the same, because the cells or the proteins and the enzymes that stop a cell from growing in one part of the body may be different in different parts of the body, right? Maybe marginally slightly different. This is important because if you have a cancer cell, or you have, let's say it's a regular cell, right? They all start out regular, but the enzymes that stop it from growing are in a negative environment, or it's not an environment that is suitable for its function, it won't work. This is why it's so important to not eat certain foods. A big problem that causes cancer is acidity. More than likely, you're going to get cancer from an acidic diet than an alkaline diet. That's just a fact, because your body cannot even sustain high alkalinity, so it's going to cap off around 7.5 to 8. That's like neutral to alkaline, right? But your body can actually sustain lower pHs than it can sustain higher pHs, right? So your body can sustain 1, 2 pH, 3 pH. This is stomach acid. This is things like mucus and things like that, they're going to have a lower pH, right? Now, certain organisms like microorganisms, bacteria, viruses can thrive in this environment. This is why there is a general push for alkalinity within our diets. But this can become a problem when certain parts of the body that are supposed to be neutral become acidic. The enzymes that are supposed to stop a cell from growing will not work anymore. And this isn't the only reason why the checkpoint can be missed. There are many different reasons, but this is just one that I'm identifying right now, right? If the checkpoint proteins and checkpoint enzymes are not at the proper environment, they will not function, period. You can make sure they're functioning properly by eating a balanced diet, eating a neutral to alkaline diet, and making sure you're getting your exercise, making sure you're getting in the sun. I know one of y'all said you were out there in the sun and it really helps you. It does. It really does. Our bodies rely on our environment. I'm reading a book right now that the main thesis of that book is basically saying that human beings are not organisms on our own. Our environment is actually an extension of our organism, right? So now every human being is basically limited or capped off by their environment. Birth for confirmation. This is why you have to have a healthy, happy home. You know what I'm saying? All of these things, they may seem like they don't correlate with your, the way your body works internally, but they do. Stress and different chemicals like cortisol, they kill the body. They don't only alert the body that something is going on a chemical level, they actually break down tissue because it makes the body get in a state where it is unsure of what is its enemy and what is not its enemy. This is how autoimmune disorders happen. I know some of y'all have had autoimmune disorders in here. When your body is unsure of what the real threat is, it'll start to just attack everything. And that is purely caused by, I'm not going to say purely, it's many different causes for this, but one of the main reasons is stress. Your body actually starts to attack its tissues when you're stressed. And this is another thing that can lead to cancer. This is another thing that can cause your cells to pass or miss their checkpoints, right? Now, once the cell misses its checkpoint and it starts to just grow, it'll start to replicate. A certain cells, all cells really, cannot get past a certain size. But they will keep growing until they get to that size so that they can replicate, right? They'll just split up and split up and split up. But when a cell replicates, it replicates a clone of itself. So when you have a cancer cell, it's not going to replicate a normal cell. It's going to replicate a cell that keeps missing its checkpoints. This isolates the cancerous cells from the rest of the body. The rest of the body cannot get to the cancerous cells. The very programming that programs these cells, which is the DNA, the cancerous cells are not listening to the DNA right. It's not correlating with the rest of the body, right? Let me read the chat. Oh, y'all talking about personal things. Epigenetics. GM is spitting. Epigenetics is super important. Super, super important. And that is a study of, real quick, just a brief sidebar. Epigenetics is a study that our environments create changes in our DNA that are not necessarily visible on the DNA code, right? It's an interesting study. It's basically saying that if every day I'm going through a certain experience, it's going to reflect in my DNA code, right? And when I have kids, the next generation is going to reflect that same exact experience or the ramifications of that same exact experience. They did it on some mice. I forgot what the exact trial was, but I'm pretty sure it went along the lines of they got some mice and the mice got shocked every time they did a certain thing, but they got rewarded every time they did something else. Now, this basically ingrained into their psyche, into their DNA, to the point where their next generation avoided the thing that got them shocked without ever having first-hand encounters with it. That is epigenetics. So when people say, I know I'm getting kind of political now, but fuck it. I know when people say that, oh, black people in America should just get over slavery. Slavery was a long time ago. That's not how biology works. We are quite literally ingrained with the ramifications of slavery. And we can overcome it. I'm not saying that we need to be victims. I really believe that we should organize and get over that. But that's another conversation. It's not the fact that we need to get over it because it was a long time ago. We need to get over it because if we don't, we will die. We will get wiped out. We will kill each other. Right? That is epigenetics. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You are kind of predisposed to certain things by your environment and by your previous generations. For example, me, before we get back to cancer, I am predisposed to addiction. I have addicts in my family, real addicts. Right? I swear I don't do drugs. This is why I can't do drugs. I've had experience with drugs. It was not good. I have an addictive personality. Before I tried any drugs, I had an addictive personality. That's epigenetics. Epigenetics is me having addicts deep in my lineage and my family members, my elite family members, my immediate family members being addicts. That's epigenetics. And it gets to the point where you could have never met the addict in your life. I have only met a few of the addicts in my family. But even before I met them, I grew up in a good environment around no addicts. Why did I still exhibit addictive personalities? That's epigenetics, okay? Trauma and mental illness has been proven to be genetically passed down, and the addiction gene is very real. My family is hit hard by these things, exactly. And everybody's family is. Nobody is exempt, especially if you live in America. Drug use and, alcohol, these things run deep in our culture. Deep. I know we're kind of sidebarring. We'll get back to cancer in a second, but the very thing that made this country rich is literally an addictive substance, tobacco. That was the plant that kind of saved America from going extinct in the early like 17th century, or not 17th, the 18th century technically, 1700s. The thing that saved America was tobacco, an addictive substance. So addiction is very much ingrained into the society and the way we run things over here. Yes, tobacco, then sugar, then alcohol, then drugs, exactly. This is real spill. I saw on Insta reel that the bad seed oils we ingest makes us allergic to the sun, so we can't get the most out of the light spectrum codes and help protect us. I don't know how true that is, but it's definitely possible. Oil acts as a preservative. So if you're constantly eating oil, the inside of your body is kind of going to get greasy. It's going to get preserved in that fatty acid, right? This is why the inside of your veins get gunked up when you eat a bunch of fats. Even when you eat a bunch of sugar, you get blockages in your blood vessels. This is what causes cardiac arrest and different cardiac issues, right? I don't know how that relates to the sun, but I can't say that it's incorrect. I'm going to have to do my research on that. Matter of fact, let me screenshot this. I love to research. Maybe we'll do a class on that. Have you noticed there's high potassium and a lot of seed oils in our food? And sodium, of course. That's how they function. Those are the addictive substances. Well, not potassium, but sodium and sugar. Sodium is addictive in the sense that it just tastes good. There's no real biological inclination to overconsume salt other than the fact that it tastes good. But sugar is different. Excuse me. On a biological level, we need sugar. So the body has no problem with requesting sugar, with sending your brain impulses to want sugar, to even overconsume sugar, to store a bunch of sugar, because sugar is needed to sustain our physical vessels. That's why sugar is so dangerous, because we need it, but it can be too much, right? I got a great YouTuber guy who was spinning some crazy stuff before anyone knew about it. His YouTube channel name is Master of the Earth. I've seen him before. I can DM it later. Master of Earth, I'm pretty sure I know who that is. That was like one of the OG spiritual YouTubers. I'm pretty sure, right? He was making videos on all this shit we're making. Everything we were talking about in like 2020 2021, 2022, he was on that shit in like 2014, 2015, 2016. I'm pretty sure that's who you're talking about. Yep, yeah, I know you're talking about. I'll go look back at that. But back to cancer, right? The next type of cancer is the tumor, right? Not all tumors are cancerous, but most are. I'm not gonna lie. You've been watching his videos present day, yeah, if they really transcend time. It's like that stuff will always be relevant. But back to cancer, right? The next type of cancer, like I said, is tumors. Now, these are the dangerous ones. These are the dangerous ones because instead of having one cell that is acting AWOL and becoming a hindrance to the rest of the organism, you have an entire colony of cells that are in unison and going AWOL, acting as if they are their own individual entity. And this becomes a parasite to you. Not only does the cancer tumor become a parasite, it can start to house parasites. They did a study. I don't know how official the study was. I'm not sure if it was peer reviewed, but they still did a study. I'll do more research on this later, where they found a bunch of parasites living in tumors. And when they tried to draw out the parasites, when they focused, instead of trying to focus on killing the tumor, and they focused on drawing out the parasites, the tumors went away. This is what I mean when I say that the body has to be in a certain environment for these things to happen. You don't just get tumors out of nowhere. All right? It's possible, but it's very rare, right? It can happen through genetic mutation and all things like that. Very spontaneous, like I said, but mostly it's because of the environment. Modern medicine will tell you that yes, these things happen because of the environment, but they can be fixed through direct intervention or without changing the environment, and that's not true. Like, modern medicine is structured around the concept that since we know every single bodily process, we can intervene bodily processes at specific steps to avoid detriment or to avoid a negative consequence. And although that has truth, I'm not going to act like it's not true. It doesn't change the problem. It just cures a specific, or not even cure, it treats a specific problem that is happening. But it doesn't get rid of the problem, because if you got rid of the treatment, if the treatment just went bye-bye, you will be right back at square one because you did not change the environment. Right? Womb of the mother into the womb of your environment. Exactly. That goes back into what I said earlier. We are extensions of our environment. When you're a baby in the womb, you're not just you. You're your mother as well. And when we are born into our environment, we're not just people, individuals. This entire world is literally us. Like, and I don't mean that philosophically. Like, this entire earth is an organism. The same way the fish swim around in the ocean and they lack certain bodily organs because the ocean kind of acts as an organ for them. The ocean is salty. It carries minerals. They don't have to have certain organs that try and collect these minerals like we do. We have noses and lungs so that we can collect oxygen out of the atmosphere. That's because the atmosphere is our ocean. It's the extension of our organism, right? The air is our organ, literally. The same way when we do respiration and we breathe in from this organ to the internal organ, it's the same way as a fish taking in minerals from the sea. So when we are in our environment, we're literally in ourselves. Like, the environment is our organ, right? Once people start seeing it like that, we will stop polluting our organ. We will stop polluting our environment. But back to the last type of cancer, right? The tumor is so dangerous, like I said, because it becomes a colony for all things bad in your body. When you bust open a tumor, you will not just find cancer cells chilling around, talking shit, and rolling dice. You're going to find dead, nasty things. You're going to find bacteria that only grow in there. You're going to find maybe even viruses in there chilling. You may find parasites. You're going to find heavy metals. You're going to find forever chemicals. You're going to find microplastics. Like, the tumors use these things as a cover-up. They hide. Even the parasites, they hide in the gunk so that you can't find, or that the rest of the body can't find it, right? This is nasty. Like, if I busted open a human cadaver right now and I showed you how these things happen, you would be disgusted, right? The human body is kind of nasty anyway when you bust it open. Imagine a sick human body. If people looked at it from these perspectives, they would never get sick because they would always make sure that they're doing the right things and putting themselves in a proper environment to stay healthy. Period. If I really showed you how nasty cancer is, nobody would ever get cancer. Now that we know what cancer is, I want to talk about. I keep needing some water. Now that we know what cancer is and we know how cancer occurs, we're going to talk about how to cure cancer really quick. First, I want to open it up with this before I forget. Every single organ in your body is an instrument. That's why it's called an organ. You have organs, they play a certain frequency, right? Each frequency comes together to create a bigger song. If you could hear each frequency being emitted by each individual organ in your body, it would sound like music because they all play their own specific tune, right? Now, when you alter your organs or your organs are not in a suitable environment, they're going to play the wrong tune. Word for confirmation. They're going to play the wrong tune. And the song gets disrupted, right? If you were at an orchestra and everyone was in unison, the music was beautiful, and then you just heard a loud trumpet go flat on the wrong note, it would almost be like in your mind, everything kind of just stops. Because everything was kind of flowing and then it was disrupted by that one thing. In the orchestra, they have to just keep going like it didn't happen. But in all of our minds, we know the trumpet player fucked up. That is how the rest of the body functions. When one organ gets ill, the other organs have to compensate for it. When one of your lungs gets sick, the other lung has to pick up the pace. When a certain part of your brain falls unresponsive, the rest of the brain has to kind of pick up the pace. This is because there's only a certain amount of, let's say a certain amount of energy in the body, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. One part of yourself doesn't just magically break off or, become unresponsive like it doesn't matter anymore. Like, no, that energy, that work has to be done by something else. The energy has to be made up for somewhere else, right? This is a basic biological principle. This relates to cancer because, like I said, when that one cancer cell or that one tumor starts to overgrow, the rest of the body feels it. This is why when you do things like chemotherapy and they target that specific cancer, the rest of the body feels it. You could have cancer in your foot. Once they hit that chemo, your hair is going to fall out because the rest of your body has to conserve energy. It has to feel the brunt, feel the sacrifice, right? Let me check the chat. What's up, YouTube? Notes. Alright, bet. We're looking good. And we got like an hour left till Z's class. So I'll try and speed this. Well, we're making good time. Like I said, once one part of your body suffers, the rest of the body has to pick up the pace. Now, when it comes to treatments, instead of targeting the body with radiation, like that, which is very common, chemo, instead of trying to kill a certain area of the body that is overgrown or not in alignment, what we should do is try and put the whole body in alignment, right? Instead of trying to kill. This is what modern humanity, we're so focused on kill, destroy, kill, destroy. We can't heal. Nobody's healing. Like, you can heal cancer. When you get rid of cancer, you kill a cancer, they say, oh, you're healed. But you didn't really heal anything. You killed. And that works, but it doesn't stop the cancer from coming back. It is why people get cancer and they literally get cancer again. What you need to do is heal the body, right? You can heal a cancer cell. All you need to do is put it in alignment. You can do this theoretically through frequencies. Like I said, each part of the body produces a certain frequency, but when it gets ill, the frequency gets out of alignment. It produces a different frequency. if we played a certain frequency that a certain organ was tuned to, the cancer cell would kind of fall in line energetically, right? Because when you, this is the law of, what's it called? The law of correspondence, I believe. When you play one frequency and then you play that same frequency, they harmonize. Technically, it wouldn't be harmonized, but they would integrate and kind of ramp each other up, right? I don't know the word for that, but they would integrate and they would ramp each other up. Synchronize could work, but I'm thinking of something that implies the amplitude, like both frequencies coming together creates a bigger frequency, right? But yeah, synchronize. They will fuse. This principle is important because in the body, if I play a frequency that is targeted towards a specific organ, the two frequencies will synchronize. And once they combine, they will get stronger and that organ will be able to function more properly. They used to do this in ancient times. If you go look at, the ancient temples, like somebody said in the comment, if you look at the ancient temples, they used to play a frequency throughout the temple, or they used to ring a bell throughout the temple, and it would produce a resonance. It would produce a frequency that was aligned with a specific note that the body was tuned to, or that a certain organ was tuned to, right? I don't know exactly what temples, but they're in India, even certain cathedrals in Europe, right? Now, we have gotten rid of all of that shit because it's too good. I don't know. We like bad shit nowadays. We want hospitals and nursing homes that smell like shit and have terrible care, instead of just having everybody sit down in peace and meditate to frequencies. We're going to get back there one day. But even if you look at Egypt, right? This is kind of debatable. People debate the true function of the pyramids. But matter of the fact is that the pyramids act as a resonance chamber. They had, number one, they speculate that the pyramids had electricity, but not only did the pyramids have electricity, they ran a machine that produced frequencies. It produced a certain frequency. I think it was the tone of F. I'm not sure. I would have to re-look into that. But it tuned to that, and it projected that frequency out to the whole of the surrounding of the pyramid. And this made life more flourishing. That one frequency. And then also, if you were to be inside of the pyramid, it would heal you, right? That's just one speculation, but it's not even really speculation. This has been studied by true electricians, people who understand the concept of electricity and electromagnetism. People understand frequency. If you look at the ingredients, if you look at the structures within the pyramids, if you look at the things that the residues, like they had hydrogen residue in a certain conduit of the pyramid. They were literally pouring hydrogen into that conduit so it could produce electricity. But that's a sidebar, right? It is an ancient practice, an ancient knowledge that we can heal through frequencies, right? We all believe in that here. I shouldn't have to tell anybody that. During my time of research, I found out the high amounts intravenous vitamin C helps heal from the cancer among with other illnesses. I'm sure it does, because along human evolution, humans lost the ability to produce their own vitamin C in their liver, so we need to get it externally. I didn't even know we made vitamin C in our liver, but I know that most of the minerals and vitamins that we do need, that we used to produce, like even like vitamin B. We never produced vitamin B necessarily, but there is a bacteria that produces vitamin B that we should have in our that we should have in our stomachs. We should have it in at least one of our organs. It's a bacteria that resides in the soil, right? Other animals have it. Some of the animals that don't have it, they get their vitamin B from eating soil, right? This is kind of how evolution has happened to us. We've lost the ability to do a lot of things, but we've also gained the ability to do a lot of things. So, like I said, evolution is spontaneous. Can't say evolution favors anybody. But do you think we are evolving down or getting better? I'm going to answer that in a second. Lately, I've been blessing my food because the subconscious from metaphysics books I've read recommend it to imagine frequency and light and energizing your food and water before eating. I noticed it helped me with my energy. Exactly. I pray too. I honestly pray over my food, but I do pray. And I more so give thanks. That's what I do. When I pray, I don't really ask for anything. I just give thanks to the shit that I already have, or to the things that I know I will receive, right? Good health, happiness, prosperity, all of that. But you asked, do I think we're evolving down or getting better? That's hard to say because evolution takes place over a long period of time. But I know one thing is for sure. I talked to J Dot about this too, to Genie Dot. Eventually, in human evolution, we will diverge. Unless we take specific actions to not diverge, we will diverge into a different species. This means that there will be a group of humans that resemble us in the future, but we will also break away into adjacent species, right? So you may have a human species with tall necks. You may have a humanoid species with longer arms, with wider eyes, but then you'll have another human species who looks more or less like us, right? That's the natural course of evolution. All species either die out or they diverge into different species. That's where I think evolution is going. So do I think evolution is going to make us better or not? Right now, I know that we're going through the thick of it in terms of environment. Our bodies are going to get more resilient. So the ones who survive the crisis, the climate crisis, our bodies are definitely going to get more resilient to negative environments. But, that leaves the question of what happens to the people who can't survive. They'll die, quite frankly. And ultimately, that's beneficial to the human species. I know that sounds controversial. It may sound crazy to you. But to the core of the human species, that is positive, right? The climate crisis is going to make us more resistant to environmental factors. Not only that, we have technology, so we have to account for that fact that if we keep relying on technology, our bodies will stop doing certain things, right? If we keep wearing glasses, our bodies will stop making our eyes good. Shit like that. So you are saying that the traits we will have will create its own species or groups, like how there are different kinds of monkeys, for example. Exactly. Different humanoid, intelligent species. I think that is definitely down the line for us. Probably sooner than you may think. Some say it could take millions of years. I would say it's going to happen from 100,000 to 1,000,000 years. And we will be around. I'm confident that we will be around. Maybe not our iteration of humans, but another iteration of humans that comes after us. I honestly don't know what's going to happen to our current iteration of humanity. We're trying to cook ourselves at every chance we get. So hopefully we'll overcome that growth spurt, that growing pain of trying to destroy ourselves all the time. But if we do make it past that, humanity will definitely evolve into more beneficial aspects, right? An adaptation that I want to see amongst humanity is the intelligence. I want us to become smarter. I would like us to grow slightly bigger craniums. We might not even need to get a bigger head to become smarter, honestly. Our brains could just adapt in a different way, become more efficient with the size that we have. You can build, a lot of neurons and neural pathways within the amount of brain space that we have. We don't necessarily need to build new neural pathways, and we could also extend our mental neural pathways throughout the body. Like octopuses do this, and different squids and sea creatures. They have their brain is basically their entire body. Like they have the neurons and neural pathways all throughout their body. We could possibly do something like that, where instead of having a bigger brain, birth confirmation, we just grow a brain kind of all throughout our body, right? That would be really cool too. Maybe faster with our gene manipulation technologies, but that can go very good, bad, very fast. Regulation and ethics are important. Yeah, that's something I'm very excited to see as well. Genetic modification. People, especially in a holistic community, hate genetic modification. They think it's bad. And I used to be that way too until I actually learned what genetic modification was. Um, if we can learn to modify ourselves in a way that respects the divine blueprint for our bodies, if we learn to modify ourselves in ways that we would naturally evolve, we would be alright. Like, but it's just no point of modifying ourselves so that we can do extraordinary shit that we would never evolve to do. You know, that's where we get a problem. And then you have the question of eugenics. Some people want to create the master race through genetics. I'm not one of those people. Well, I am, but not in a way that discludes anybody. You know, I'm not the type of dude to be like, oh, make all human beings white with white skin and smaller eyes. Like there are eugenics people out there who believe like that. I think that we should, if we do develop genetic modification for humans, we should do it in a way where everyone is included, everyone is in agreement, and it serves the collective, not in a way that hey, we're buying the newest genetic mod that just dropped, like it's the newest iPhone or some shit. That would create incredible wealth disparity and inequality amongst humans. Like, oh, did you just get the new intelligence update? Oh yeah, bro, like I'm finna cop it today. And then you got poor people who just have no biometrics, they have nothing. And that would suck. That would suck a lot. But I don't think humanity's gonna go down that line. People would surely revolt before that happens. I promise. I think the master race thing is interesting. I think every ethnicity has its biological advantages, disadvantages, so it could be a combination of everything. And that's ultimately where we're gonna go to. We don't even need genetic modification to do that, because since we live in a global culture now, slowly but surely over the next 10,000 years, humanity is going to kind of deculturalize itself in a sense where all the ancient cultures, you have different corners of the world. We treat these people as different races. All of these things are just going to merge because at some point we're going to have too much people on this bitch. There's not going to be any space for separation. So, it's going to become a melting pot, even more so than it is already. Basically, the whole world is probably going to become like America. Well, not in philosophy or execution, but as far as demographic, right? America is a place that has every sort of people. And slowly, America is becoming brown. This is why conservatives and, people who are racist are freaking out, because the number of white people is dwindling and the number of brown people for all cultures is going up, right? And then you also have to look at it from the perspective that, white people are the minority. Globally, the human race is a brown race. We're a brown people. Whether you want to treat it as dark skin, whether you want to treat it as light skin, brown, I want to say like 90% of all humanity, maybe like 70 to 80% of all humanity is brown. Everyone else is a modification of the original, right? Middle Easterns, brown. Indians, brown. Even like Southeast Asians, brown. Southwest Asians, brown. Africans, brown. South Americans, brown. North Americans, you got white, but you got a lot of brown. You know what I'm saying? Every corner of the world is more or less brown. And we're doing this kind of eugenics thing where we favor lighter skin. That's cool, but ultimately it's not gonna really work. Like, lighter skinned people are not just gonna dominate 70% of the brown species. They're not gonna breed us out of our brown skin. That's not how it's gonna work. In about 10,000 to 20,000 years, most likely everyone on the planet is going to have my skin color. Maybe lighter than me, but still gonna be brown. I'm not gonna lie, because we would just have become a melting pot at that point. And everybody's gonna look racially ambiguous. You're gonna see a little bit of Asian in everybody. You're gonna see a little bit of African in everybody. Pretty much everyone is gonna look. What's a culture that is mixed with everything? Pretty much the entire world is gonna look like Native Americans. I'm not gonna lie. Native Americans are mixed with everything. Like OG North American indigenous people mixed with everything. They have their roots come from China. They have, different white mixtures from colonialism. They also have mixed in breeds with African Americans. So it's like Native Americans have touched every corner of the globe kind of with their gene pool. You know what I'm saying? So in about 10,000 years, most people are going to be brown. And that's just a fact. And if people are mad about that, I mean, that sucks to suck. We've always been brown. But now that we had the eugenics and the race sidebar, let's get back to cancer. Boy. Womp womp. Boo. That sucks. And if you do see somebody in around 10 to 20,000 years, if you do see somebody who is white, they're racist. It doesn't even make sense, cause everyone will be so mixed in. The world will become a melting pot. We already live in a global society right now. If we live 10 to 20,000 years greater and we replicate, there's so many humans, this will become a melting pot. Everybody will mix in together. So if there is anybody who is just white as this male, they're racist. And their entire bloodline is racist. They probably come from a racist lineage. But that's just my opinion. They had to be bleaching. That's what I'm saying. The world is moving so fast these days. The next couple of decades are going to be very interesting, random. But look at the togetherness with the FIFA World Cup petition. That's what I'm saying. Like, we already have a global culture. This global culture is new. It just happened within the last 100 years, where there is a definable global pop culture. We're becoming one. You feel me? No matter what anybody thinks, we're becoming one. We're unifying. It looks dangerous. It looks, scary because we have a lot of turmoil in the world right now. But ultimately, we're becoming a one people. There's probably going to be a one world government in the future too. I know that sparks questions of, New World Order and Illuminati. But even if they didn't do it, we would do it first. You know what I'm saying? Like, a one world government is honestly the mark of a species who is highly intelligent. You think Arcturians and Palladians and all these different ET species have, countries and shit? They probably have a one world government of some sort. I'm not gonna lie. But that's beside the point. World currency, if currency, any currency at all. And that's what I'm saying. And we could have a one world currency and still have different currencies that are regional. Like, we could still have a one world government and still have nations and, different regions of people that have their own cultural identity. It's possible. One doesn't have to trump the other. But let's get back to cancer, right? I said we could heal cancer through frequencies. That is true. Science, modern science, will tell you that it's not possible because they have not explored it. If you look it up right now, the AI answer that probably comes up will tell you that it's maybe possible, but it's not proven. And that's because they don't do the experiments. Science works off the scientific method, where you have to have a hypothesis that something will happen, and then you have to test it hundreds of times in a method that is replicatable. They don't do the studies, so we will never figure it out if we don't do the studies. But luckily, your boy is getting his doctorates in biology and holistic medicine. So I will do the trials for y'all. I and a bunch of other people who are working on this right now, we will do the trials. And by the time I die, it will be a fact that frequencies can heal your body. Right? Thank you. What else can heal cancer? Right? Frequency is just the tip of the iceberg. Really, the most solid way to cure cancer is to change the environment that the cancer is living in. Like I said, cancer is an environmental issue. It's not a specified, or it's not an individualized problem. Although cancerous entities or cancer cells, they act on an individual basis. They act separate from the rest of the body. You can't necessarily isolate them and get rid of the problem. I mean, you can, but you're going to kill the surrounding cells. Because what kills one cell will kill another cell. What you have to do is change the entire environment If the rest of the surrounding cells around a cancer cell thrive in a certain type of environment, they'll survive. They'll be all right if you keep that entire environment. But the cancer cell will die because they can't sustain themselves in that environment. Cool. That is literally the way to get rid of cancer. Change the environment that the cancer is living in, and the cancer cannot survive. Cool. Simple. We just solved cancer right there. The hard part about that is nobody really knows exactly what environment cancers thrive in. And that's where our research is lacking. And it's getting better. We're learning more and more and more. But we don't know enough. Specifically because, like I said earlier, each cancer thrives in a different type of environment. Overall, you're going to see common themes like gunk and, low pH, acidity. You're going to see heavy metals and things like that around tumors. Even like hella sugar and triglycerides. You're going to see a bunch of nutrients basically being stored up and creating a negative environment around a tumor. But like I said, it is regional. So there's no one size fits all environment to heal cancer. Because like I said, the cancer in your lung is going to need a different environment to stabilize than the cancer on your brain. Right? This is where the research comes in. I'm going to do the research for y'all. I'm going to write the papers. I'm going to write the peer review articles. And hopefully the government doesn't kill my ass. Well, shit, I'm not going to lie. Hopefully we overthrow the government before I do all of that. Sorry. Just being real. Now, he said we will. Hopefully. Now, that's how you heal cancer. I'm not even going to spend a hella time on that because it's not something that is super difficult. Literally, do the basic shit that they've been teaching us since the second grade. Eat healthy. Go outside and get sunlight. Exercise. Drink hella water. Maintain your minerals and your micronutrients. Get vitamins. And what is the cancer gonna thrive off? Sunshine and happiness? Like, no, the cancer needs destabilization to thrive. So, boom. Will you be uploading this? I will. This will be up on YouTube. Last week's will be up on YouTube too. I'm uploaded today. We got like 40 minutes left. So we might not even go to full 40, but I'm gonna run this out. Right? Of course. And I thank you for showing up if you gotta go. Much love. That's how you get rid of cancer. Literally do what the fuck they told you to do since 1 year old. Eat your vegetables, eat fruit, like use your legs, walk, stop being a couch potato. Much love, peace out. Yeah, bro, stop listening to terrible music. Stop putting your mental state in negative places. And this is, people think this is a spontaneous thing. People think that, oh, I just hate my life, I'm depressed, so my body is gonna, suffer. Like, you kind of put yourselves in those. Trust me, from somebody who was depressed. I'm not gonna act like all depressed episodes are the same. I'm not gonna act like all anxiety episodes are the same. I'm not gonna act like all these things are the same. But the fact of the matter is that you have the choice to take yourself out of that environment that is making you that way. I would rather die than live in fear. I would rather die than live in anxiety. I would rather die than live in pain. Period. So when I do get in these episodes, I would do anything to get out of them. If I'm in an anxious episode, which I have been severely to the point where it manifested illness in my body, when I was in that, I literally did everything I could to get out of that environment. And I did. And the physical illnesses went away because my cortisol went down. My anxiety went down. My nervous system was literally damaged. I had nerve damage in my feet. I talk about this a lot, and I'm going to keep bringing this shit up till I die. I had nerve damage in my feet literally off of anxiety, cortisol, stress, and what else? A bad diet. That's all it takes. Most people already have 3 of those. Or 2 of those. Most people already have the bad diet down. And most people already have the stress down. They're literally one fall away. They're one fall at work away from the anxiety. They're one mishap, one catastrophe away from the thing that puts them over the edge. And when you go over the edge, it's not just a mental thing. People go mentally crazy, yeah, but these things manifest in the body as physical illness. One of them, I'm going to bring it up again, one of the most elusive disorders is the autoimmune disorder. Nobody knows why your body just decides to start killing itself one day from the inside out. It's because your mind. A lot of times. Not every time. Sometimes it's the environment. But a lot of times, it's the mind and the mental state. Your body gets used to producing chemicals that kill you. Period. I got nerve damage in mine too. Each big toe has some numbness. Luckily, my nerve damage didn't leave any super lasting effects, but I do have a permanent change to my nervous system where I twitch. My entire nervous system is changed from that experience, but not in a way where I feel numbness or pain. You know, sometimes I do kind of get that pain in my foot, but it was like be a needle point or needle prick and it goes away. It's nothing crazy. But the fact that I twitch, like I'll have dead ass muscle spasms. It's a spiritual thing as well. I channel spirits. Sometimes the spirits channel through my body and I start twitching. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes my nervous system just be tripping out. You feel me? All from that one episode where I was stressed the fuck out and not living right. Imagine people who go through these things for years and years and years on end and they don't make an effort to change their situation. My shit happened in the course of like 6 months. If I'm still being affected marginally today, imagine somebody who has been in this situation for 5-10 years. They will never be the same. That's like PTSD territory. That's autoimmune disorder territory. That's territory where your body starts to turn on itself. Because in a certain way, it's almost as if you don't want to live anymore. So your body kind of makes that happen for you. Everybody who I know that got over an autoimmune disorder or got over, some type of cancer, they tell me that they made the conscious decision that they didn't have it anymore. Not that they were going to get over it, but that it was over. They didn't have it. And they assimilated back into normalcy by doing the things that they know their body needs. The body falls in line. The mind controls everything. When you die because of cancer or you die because of disease, it's literally because the body gave out before the mind. The body got so damaged, it was like, brain, you treated us so bad, I give up. So the body always dies before the brain. When you die, your brain is alive for like 5 to 10 minutes after. Just chilling there thinking, pondering, watching a light flash before your eyes. Because if you didn't treat your body right, the body's going to peace out early. And a lot of times the body doesn't just peace out through a quick death. A lot of times the body pieces out slowly. Entropy or disorder will start to accumulate within the body. It'll start slacking on its functions because it knows that it does not want to keep thriving. It doesn't want to be alive anymore. Your body kind of has an agency of its own. And this is why it's important for you to control your mind. You have to get to a state of being where you can control, you can command your body. I talk to my cells, y'all. I'm not just saying this shit out the blue, out my ass. Like, I talk to my cells. I be like, hey, we're going to do this today. Y'all better be ready. Hey, I'm going on a fast. Don't be sending me them pain signals because we're not eating. And my cells listen because I train myself to listen. I train my cells to acknowledge that I am the commander of the ship. I'm not just bullshitting y'all. I got nerves. That's big knowledge. Our cells hold water and water holds memory. That's how stress can kill people. Exactly. I tend to refer to myself as we. Me too. We, bro, it's like there's so much sauce in just the words alone. I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. Like, I can't stress this enough. I refer to myself as he, we. I refer to myself as it. I refer to myself as if I am a presence, a being. Like, I don't refer to myself as me. I. Like, when I'm in my ego and shit, I'll be on some I shit. But when I'm talking to myself, I be like, shit, we, it, they. Like, it's yes. I'm not, at the end of the day, at the highest level, I'm not they. I'm an it. I'm barely an it. I'm a presence. You feel me? I'm a being. So it's like when you disassociate from the problems of the vessel, the problems of the ego, you can transcend the events that are taking place within the ego, and you can kind of rewrite the story. But that's for another class. That's for a mental mastery class. Just so you know, to sum out this part of the lecture, your mind controls the body. If you put your mind in an environment that produces proper communication within the body, you will never get cancer or anything like that, because your body's always going to be on top of it. My body knows we're a unit. We're a machine. Like, we're a troop. We are at war. Not against myself. It's not me versus me. It's me versus the environment. Me versus the world. Me versus these corrupt ass politicians who try and poison us. My body knows that. This is why I recover hella quick, because my body's on it. This is why I sleep. I could sleep for a long time, and I could sleep for a little time. Last night I got like 6 hours of sleep. That's not normal for me. I usually try and get 7 to 8. But if I don't get it, my body still knows what to do. My body snaps right back into action, and I could do this shit for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm a superhuman, y'all. I'm not just playing with y'all. It's because I trained my body to be this way. I trained my body to surpass human limits. I don't think, oh, well, some people can't do this, so maybe my body can't do that too. Like, no. I try and do everything, because this body, the laws that govern this physical body, do not govern me. I'm the captain of this ship. Right? That's the mentality that you need to have. A super soldier, exactly. That's the mentality that you need to have when you are overcoming illness, or trying to prevent illness at that. I tell my body, like, since I have biomedical knowledge, I tell my body the stuff that I know. My body knows this stuff too, but when you bring consciousness to it, it's almost as if your body becomes consciously aware. Your body's only aware. Your body's only aware on a individual basis. But when you bring consciousness to it, your body can become conscious. I tell my body, hey, y'all know we have dementia in our family. We have diabetes in our family. You know what diabetes is. Make sure that you regulate that insulin properly. My body knows what insulin is. Make sure that that diabetes doesn't get to my brain, because that's how dementia comes. Make sure that you keep the sugar regulated in my brain, because I don't want to get dementia early on. And I eat a proper diet. I make sure that my mind-body connection is connected, like this. Feel me? I tell my body. I just told my body this the other day. I'm like, shit, my hand kind of hurts. Body, we need to start preparing for arthritis, because I have arthritis in my family too. Body, we need to make sure that our joints and ligaments stay clean. We need to make sure that all of this is getting healed, so that we don't end up like, decrepit one day. And everybody gets decrepit, but we don't need to get decrepit at 50, 60, and 70 like people do. You're supposed to get decrepit at like 110, 120. If you're 50 to 100, that's midlife. Like 50 is midlife. You should not have a chronic illness at 50. When I told you that the end destination of all life on earth is cancer or premature death, I wasn't lying. But you only get cancer when your body's finished. Like, I mean finished. When your body says, hey, we can't sustain this anymore without destroying ourselves. So we're going to die now. That's around the peak of your lifespan. Birth for confirmation. But for humans, it's around 120 years old. They're going to tell you that the lifespan is 80 years old. It's 90 years old. But there's people walking around from World War II. Maybe not. I think the last person from World War II died recently. But I'm going to look it up. There are people walking around that have been around long as shit. Who is the... Matter of fact, let's look it up. How old is the oldest person alive? $116. And she's a white woman. No disrespect, y'all. No disrespect. But white people are not known to live that long. No disrespect. But the fact that a white woman can get to 116 years old biologically, that means that everybody else in the world, because like I told y'all, the majority of the world is brown. Everybody else can get to like 120, 130. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. I'm going to try to live to 200 years. There was an Asian man who lived in the mountains who lived to be 246 or something, was born in 1676. I don't know how true that is, but I hear that. I hear that a lot. And I believe it, because when you on a superhuman level, if you want to go beyond humans, if you want to go beyond humanity, right? If you connect with your spirit, you can become immortal, period. Your soul is already immortal. It's an immortal being. So if you connect with that presence more than you are connected with the physical body, either you're going to leave the physical body, or your physical body's kind of going to assimilate to the nature of your spirit, which is immortal. So you can prolong your life a lot. I'm aiming for at least 100. I don't know if I want to live longer than that, not gonna lie. To be honest, bro, I used to think I wanted to die like 80 years old when I was growing up, but I have too much stake in this earth experiment to die young. And when I say young, I mean like 80 to 100. That's pretty young. I need to live the fullest extent of my lifespan, not only so that I can make sure that the planet goes on course to the way it needs to be, but also so that I can be an example to the people. Like, oh shit, I didn't know we could live that long. Yes, you could live to this long. I'm gonna live to like 140, bro. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm gonna push that line. I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna show y'all. Yeah, like he embodied a Christ consciousness and stayed in the state of love, which gives cells life. Exactly. You could live long as shit, bro. I'm trying to tell y'all. Genie Dot's gonna do it too, bro. If you fuck with Genie, he already made his plan, bro. Bro said he's gonna be an immortal. He's not gonna die. I want to die, honestly. I want this physical. Professor X, he has to lay his head down one day. I don't want to be Professor X forever. I'm an immortal, all-encompassing being. This is just one of my skins. But Genie Dot said, fuck that. He wants to be immortal. He's gonna be an immortal. And I believe, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I know he could do it. But anyway, back to this conversation. We were talking about cancer. We talked about the mind influence on the body. We didn't really talk about this like that, but we're going to talk about it real quick. It's kind of self-explanatory. We'll make it quick. Why do y'all think that the governments and the world leaders want to act like cancer is incurable? Type it in the chat. Why do y'all think? Money and fear, the moolah. Control. Energy. Profit, greed, control. Right. So, it said a desire for control, fallen angels, and subordinates who do as they're told for money or out of fear. All of y'all are correct. Because cancer makes so much money, it's ridiculous. Because when you get cancer, you don't just have to get cancer treatments. You have to do tests and scans and all these labs. All that shit costs money. An MRI is like $10,000 in the United States. Just so y'all know, an MRI is literally just an imaging technique that uses electromagnetism to image your body. It images the electricity throughout your body. Literally. That's an oversimplification, but along the lines of that, that's what it does. That shit should not be that expensive. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it costed a lot of money to build the machine, but if the machine is getting used thousands of times, it should pay itself off after the first few times. Shouldn't cost $10,000 to do an MRI. That goes for about any treatment procedure. You don't just pay for that thing, you pay for the other things too. Exactly. And when you get a medical bill, they're going to pull out the The bill is gonna have 20 things on there. It's gonna say like food and beverage, $1,010, and you stayed there for maybe 2 days. It's gonna say, drugs and all this extra shit, $5,000. You got 2 prescriptions. It's gonna say labs and tests. All you did was get an MRI, $10,000. And this is for like maybe a few days of treatment. Imagine somebody with cancer who has to go through months and months, maybe years of treatment. They're spending at least $1 million on treatment. That's crazy. You should not be forced to pay more than your net worth. I'm not gonna lie. I know that doesn't sound fair, but nigga, my life isn't even worth $1 million on paper. Why would I pay $1 million to save my life? Just saying. Now, my worth is way beyond $1 million. Everybody's worth is. But on paper, if I'm not worth $1 million, why would I pay $1 million to save my life? Does that make sense to y'all? Don't make sense to me. That's what I'm saying. Most people who need treatment in this country are dead broke. Most people who live in this country are dead broke. Not just the people who need treatment. The people who need treatment are dead broke. But America is not all of y'all are from America, but America is a interesting place, y'all. America is an interesting place. But that's all, really, when it comes to why cancer is so suppressed, why cancer treatment is so suppressed, why in like the 1900s, I probably sound like a really young person when I say that, the 1900s, but in the 20th century, a lot of people got killed for creating cancer treatments. Nowadays, it's kind of harder to kill people for cancer treatments because the common man is becoming more hip to medical research. You see every day on your phone, I'm sure, weekly, you probably see, oh, such and such from this country found this and that and the third cancer treatment. And it's always a new person every week or every month. Everybody knows cancer is curable by this point. The public is not stupid. They've only been able to, suppress this for so long because there was no communication. There was no social media back in the day. Everything that you got, all the knowledge you got came from the news. Nowadays, we have independent sources communicating with each other across the globe. So you can't hide research anymore. It's impossible. Everybody knows about it. Either they're going to call it a conspiracy or they're going to try and suppress it in the algorithm. But somebody ends up figuring it out always. That repost button does a lot of work. That's pretty much it for today's class. We touched on a lot of things. Last thing I want to say that everyone is different and that there's no one diet that is going to make you healthy. But when it comes to getting rid of cancer, there are specific diets that will help you get rid of cancer. Any diet that's going to stabilize the molecular and, I want to say, fluid environment in your body, that's going to cure cancer. Diets that do this are full of, electric foods. So it's going to be raw foods, fruits and vegetables. These diets are going to be very crucial when it comes to minerals. So you're going to have all of your minerals, your sodium, potassium, magnesium, your zinc, all of that stuff needs to be included in the diet. You're going to need your vitamins, so you're going to need to go outside. You're also going to need to eat specific foods like, beans. You're going to have to eat, oranges and apples and fruits, basically. Things that are going to give you vitamin C, things that are going to give you vitamin K, vitamin E, things that are going to give you, vitamin D, all of your vitamins, right? Even certain parts of your body make vitamins, right? It's because vitamins are fats. Your body can make some vitamins, not all of them. But we have the ability to use our fats to make vitamins and to make hormones, right? Next, the diet that is going to get rid of cancer is going to balance your hormones. That is another thing that causes cancer is hormonal imbalance, right? So the diet is going to have a proper balance of fats and proteins. What else is necessary for this diet? Off the top of my head, those are the main ones. Literally just eat a balanced diet. Simple. And that's going to prevent cancer. And it can even get rid of your cancer if you find it early on. If you wait till stage 3, stage 4, then it's going to be harder to cure cancer with just eating properly and, living in a proper environment. You're going to actually need to go in there and heal the cell with frequencies or even chemo, or if that's what you're into, you're going to need to take invasive measures. But that's pretty much it for today's conversation. I appreciate y'all for pulling up and sharing this time with me, holding this space for me, and for the collective. I want to thank the Discord too. You know what I'm saying? I love this platform. I love being out here and teaching. You feel me? It's a great opportunity. Boy, my throat is dry as shit. It's unbelievable. Of course. Okra water, you're right. I need to get some okra. It's been a minute, honestly. It said apparently cancer generates about $245 to $280 billion a year. Probably more than that. I would think that cancer is $1 trillion industry. Would I be wrong to think that? Maybe not, because not everybody has cancer. But cancer it makes a lot of money, bro. A lot. This class was insightful. Definitely learned something new. I'm glad, bro. I'm glad. And if you made it late, this class is recorded and it will be up on YouTube. We streamed it live on YouTube, so it might upload the whole thing to YouTube. But even if it doesn't, I'll come back and upload it because I am recording on Streamlabs. All right. I'm gonna have to watch the YouTube vid. Sure, it was great. Good work, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Nice profile pic. I seen you changed it from the Squidward. Of course, bro. If that's all y'all got for me, any questions before I go, I'll be happy to answer. If not, finna get up out of here. Have you heard about morphic fields? I've never ever in my life heard the word morphic field in my life. But if I could guess what it's about, I would say, from the knowledge that I have, is probably along the lines of the way magnetic fields change. Something along those lines. What is a morphic field? Do you meditate to the astral or visit Akashic records? When I want to. Usually when I meditate, I really just try to bliss out and go into a state of nothingness. I don't really try and seek anything. But if I want to, I'll go to the astral or the Akashic records. Yeah, bro, I love the meditations where I just forget I even exist. Those are the best ones to me. I like to return to source. You feel me? Those are the deep ones that I like. But the transcendental meditations, the Akashic and all of that, it's cool. I don't really need to meditate to get to the Akashic records. I just need to channel. Some people have to be still to tap in, and some people have to be active to tap in. I can do both, but I'm very good when it comes to being active and tapping in. This whole live I've been tapping in. A lot of times I'll tap into some shit that I've never learned about. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do. And I'll look it up after the fact to be like, was I spitting facts? And I'll look it up, and a lot of this shit be true. 99% of the time, it's true, and somebody did the studies. So, that's how you tap into the ether. You got to tap into the Akashic record by just channeling sometimes, right? Is vibration specially created with instructions for the cells or cellular cells? Morphic fields? I'm gonna have to look into that. Created with instructions for the cell? I'm gonna have to look into that. That sounds very interesting. That sounds like something that I need to study. Thank you for that, GM. I'm gonna look at. Hold on. Let me type that in my notes. That sounds wild. Like, I've heard of that concept. I've definitely heard of that concept. But when it comes to instructions and giving instructions to cells, it becomes difficult because cells function off of electromagnetic potential, or they function off of biochemistry. And frequencies can alter biochemistry, but not in a way that is direct, at least from what I know. Now, I know that if you tune to the exact specific frequency of a certain, let's say a protein, you can probably get it to act in a certain way. And if you alter the frequency slightly, you can probably change the position of that protein. But this would take a super advanced machine that can project many different frequencies at the same time. Probably like millions of frequencies at the same time. And it would have to be like orchestrated, almost like a piano. You know what I'm saying? Like playing the piano. I got the piano behind me, but playing the frequencies in a specific order that makes the chemicals do specific shit. Almost like playing Puppet Master with them, but with frequencies. I'm gonna look into that. Maybe we need to develop that technology. It's probably already being developed. Law the student has taught the professor. That's a fact, bro. I'm gonna definitely look into that. Is it visual when you tap into the Akashic records? Yeah. Not most of the time, no. But it's because I don't choose to. You know what I'm saying? I never really developed my astral awareness that way. I kind of skipped the astral and went straight to the mental plane, because my being in the spirit that I come from, we exist beyond astral. You know what I'm saying? Like, my higher self, we exist beyond the astral. We kind of descend into the astral too, but a lot of times we just exist in a state of darkness, but we'll be functioning mentally and doing things throughout reality. You know what I'm saying? So when I tap into my higher self, I kind of get into that mode of being in blackness, but still functioning and maneuvering. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times it's not visual. Yeah, that's very cool. Arcturians are like that. I know that kind of comes from my Arcturian side. The super high Arcturians, they won't even they'll do nothing visual. Everything is just mental, or in the higher planes. They don't even like when I talk to them. You feel me? My Arcturian guides, they want just the frequency. They like, instead of me saying, hey, blah, 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 they want me to just send the frequency of, hey, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they operate with me. So everything for me is like mental plane, frequency based, not necessarily visual. But if I want to develop that, I definitely can. I more so get visuals passively, like without trying. Like, I'll get visions daily about different shit. But it's not something that I particularly am really interested in, honestly. At least not right now in this part of my journey. I yet to see stuff vividly when I meditate. Really? Stop trying. Stop trying. It'll come. Trust me. And when it comes, you'll know exactly what it feels like. So the next time you want to tap into it, you'll know exactly what to tune into. Okay, thank you for sure. How would you send the frequency? Literally just think it and project it. It's very simple. Project it with intention. I need to sit in silence for an hour or so. I've been avoiding that and meditating a bit because I put it off. Yeah, bro. I was like that for the past few years, honestly. For the past few years, I wasn't really meditating like that. And I was more so developing my gifts so that they could function passively, so I don't have to sit down to get my gifts and abilities to function. So that was actually really good for me. But I just started meditating back like a few months ago. I've been meditating consistently, and it's been helping me tap in deeper. You know what I'm saying? So that when I do go back into my era of not really trying to meditate to tap in, but tapping in passively, I'll be able to tap in deeper passively. You see me? That's why I go back and forth between meditation and active use of my gifts. I was gonna say this earlier, but the U.S. government decided to shut down the Beltsville bee research lab. Yeah, they did, because they found out bee venom can destroy breast cancer cells. Yeah, they did. I heard about that, and it's crazy because bees just had one of their biggest die-offs in history. Like I think this year or last year, a lot of bees died, and I hope y'all know that once the bees die, we're fucked. The bees pollinate all of our crops, so you know why they would choose to shut down the biggest bee research lab in our country is fucking, that's treason. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally treason. And my guys are literally like, yeah, like that's treason. You feel me? We need to be holding these people accountable for shit like that. Cause when you're taking funds away from the researchers who are actively trying to solve the problems, you are committing acts of violence against humanity. Period. I don't try for it. Just something I've noticed. Only when I tried meditation when I was young spooked me. It did at the time. That's good, bro. I feel like some people get overly exhausted by focusing on the astral too much, or they want to see certain things. They want to have vision so bad, and you're like wasting your spiritual potential because there's something that you could be getting easy. That was me. I used to be focused on the astral too much. I used to sit down every day and try and astral project. I couldn't astral project for like 3 years into my journey because I was so adamant on astral projecting. Once I gave up and I was like, fuck it, I started astral projecting. Dead ass. So, yeah, bro. If any of y'all are like that and you're too focused on it, go do something else that is easier. Something that comes easier. Not to tell you to give up and do only easy things, but, you know, there's something that is more aligned for you. The things that are aligned for you are going to be easy. For example, me, I'm clairaudient. I talk about this a lot. I'm clairaudient. That was one of my gifts that developed super easy. Yeah, I never had to try. I never had to meditate for that. It was something that came when I needed it. So, you know, now that I can astral project, it's like I can sit down and master that if I so choose, you know? And I'm definitely being called to that soon, but right now, it's just straight mental shit, straight clairaudience. Mastering my clairs, really. I want to master my clairs, because that's peak, I want to say that's peak functional ascension. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can actually physically ascend by astral projecting and leaving this physical and going to do things in the higher realms. But when you master your clairs, it's like you're in the higher realms and in the physical at the same time. And that's the ultimate goal, really, to master and to balance both of those. Oh yeah, Z's class is about to start. Thank you, GM. Thankfully, the bees around my area are alive. I make sure to talk to them and tell them thank you. That makes me feel so bad. Yeah, bro. Me too. I love having the bees. Honestly, I'm not sure. I know we have bees where I'm at, but I have been seeing less lately, unfortunately. And some of my trees don't fruit like they used to, unfortunately. So, yeah, we're going to have to do something about that. Z's class does start.